Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for Estes Education Safety Week. We are here with Estes' own Adam Knippa, who is our design engineer at Estes Rockets. Adam, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so in my role at Estes as a design engineer, I do a wide variety of things. I design model rocket kits, I make the instructions that you actually see in the kits, and then we do a vast array of testing in these rockets to make sure that they're safe. And I also do play around a little bit with designing rocket engines and making sure that we're designing stuff that's reliable and safe.
Nice. So it sounds like a really fun career if there's any future design engineers out there listening. So can you tell us a little bit about your rocketry journey? Because I believe you started when you were quite young, still into some really cool rocket stuff in your free time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started into rocketry whenever I was in middle school, and I got my very first Estes kit. It was the Estes Mini Honest John, so using our 13mm mini engines. And with that kit, it just got me hooked. I built it, launched it with a couple of my friends, and at that age, I felt inspired enough that I decided to start a club at my school and try to get others into the same level of excitement that I got into with rocketry. And then from there, I just kind of flourished and started building a bunch of different rockets, utilizing a simulation program called Open Rocket, and I started designing my own rockets. So that way I could really just let my creative juices flow and just have fun with it and be safe while doing so.
Awesome. So yeah, starting out in model rocketry, and then I believe getting into high-powered rocketry, which you won't really see in schools. So teachers, that's not necessarily something you would do in a school setting, but a lot of students that start out with model rocketry get into high-powered rocketry on their own. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the fun you've had with that?
Yeah, so there's this really awesome progression flow that you can use with Estes rockets of starting out with one of our smaller rockets and then going up into the larger and even Pro Series rockets. And like you're alluding to, what I did whenever I started to get into college, and you can even do it when you're in high school nowadays, you can get into what's called high power rocketry, where you're launching much larger rockets up to altitudes of close to 3,000 feet or higher. And in doing so, there's a set process in safety code set by both the National Association of Rocketry and the EEE Rocketry Association. And by attending those launches, you can actually attain these certifications. I myself have my level 3 high power certification, which means that I can launch what's known as an M classification motor or higher. So to get a grasp on that, an M motor, I can launch a rocket that produces over 400 pounds of thrust whenever you light that motor. So that's pretty cool and pretty exciting. And to start that journey, you can simply go on either the NAR or EEE website, find a club near you, and then you can go and attend one of those events, and there's many people there who will be happy to help you and guide you through that journey. And for me, that's what really made me who I am today. And that's what made me want to progress as an engineer, because it was just so cool and exciting to be able to design and understand what was going on with these rockets and be able to launch something upwards of a mile in the air and have it go close to the speed of sound. And it was really fun and exciting. So that's my passion as a whole.
Nice. That is really exciting. And it sounds like for students that get excited about model rocketry in middle school and high school, there really is no limit to where this passion, this hobby can take them. So that's so exciting to hear for students and teachers, just to really, as you're continuing on, thinking about future careers. There's a lot of experience, obviously, in engineering and a lot of different STEM fields that you can build on those skills with, starting out with model rocketry. So doing rocketry for so long, obviously starting in middle school, you're well familiar with the NAR Safety Code. So the NAR Safety Code is what we at Estes instruct every student and teacher, everybody that launches a rocket, you need to be following the NAR Safety Code. And there is one for model rocketry, which we'll be talking about. There's another one for high-powered rocketry, but really you can see safety is a big, big focus with Estes Rockets and model rocketry. So can you speak on the importance of following those safety rules throughout your career?
Yeah, so the NAR Safety Code is designed to not only keep you safe, but keep those around you safe. So when you're launching a model rocket, it tells you all the important things that you need to know of how far away you should be standing back from the size engine that you're using. And like, is it okay to launch a rocket whenever there's a plane flying overhead? The answer is no. And a variety of other instructions like that. So it's important to review and understand the NAR Safety Code when going and launching a rocket, because it will keep you and those around you safe. And with doing so, rocketry is a hobby that has little to no risk to it.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Very great to hear about that information, especially, teachers are listening, students are hopefully listening, and again, just learning about the importance of those safety rules. And part of the NAR Safety Code, of course, with a model rocket, you need to follow the instructions very carefully when you're building the rocket. And you don't want to make modifications to the kit in any way. And you also don't want to tamper with any of the engines that you're going to be using during the launch. One of the reasons that makes Estes rockets, our model rockets, so safe is the engine. So that model rocket engines that we use have a really dedicated quality control process that we follow when we are making these engines. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So here at Estes, whenever we manufacture our engines, we produce them in the hundreds of thousands. And as Bella's alluding to, we have to make sure that we do a good job at quality control on every single batch of engines that we produce. So out of each batch, there's easily hundreds of engines that are tested, and we make sure that they are good from the standpoint of producing the amount of thrust that we'd expect, having the correct delay amount that we'd expect, and then we make sure that there is a very, very, very low risk that this engine will have any sort of issue whenever you take it into your hands and put it in your rocket. So going from start to finish, we check everything, and we want you to make sure that you have the best user experience possible. And if you were to have any issue along the way, our customer service would be more than happy to help you.
Very good. Yeah, so of course we're talking about model rockets in middle school, high school, elementary school settings, and there are some risks when you do any activity, especially if you're not following the rules. So when we think about activities that we do at school, maybe like football, baseball, usually in your student handbook, there'll be some information there about the risk of injury when you're engaging in any of these activities. Of course, when we think about playing sports like football, we have concussion guidelines where we're always looking in case somebody does happen to be injured. And some of those injuries could be severe when you're playing a sport, but how to look out for signs of concussions and things like that. So there are risks in different school activities. And you think about when you are in a science lab in school, usually students and their parents have to sign an agreement saying that they've read all of the safety rules for that lab setting. Everyone signs off on it, agreeing that they're going to follow the safety rules. And that covers things like proper handling of chemicals and don't eat in the lab, and maybe being aware of where there's an eye wash station. So of course, especially if you're not following the rules, accidents can happen. So that really, ties back to model rocketry and why we have these specific rules that we all need to follow. And when we follow those rules, everyone can be safe and have a really amazing rocketry experience that they likely will never forget. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with students and teachers, maybe if they're still a little hesitant about introducing model rocketry at their school?
I'd have to say that rocketry is not just a hobby, it's an experience. And it was because of the experience of rocketry that I got to where I'm at today, and I chose to be an engineer. So you'll never know what might inspire the next generation to fulfill the role that they choose in life. For me, it was rocketry, and I still do it today. For others, it might be chemistry or some sort of physics or computers. So don't be afraid to give that opportunity to a student, or if you are a student, don't be afraid to give it a shot. You never know what in life you might find that just clicks for you. So just don't let your dreams be dreams.
Amazing advice. Thank you, Adam, so much for being with us today here for our Estes Education Safety Week. Thank you all again for joining. We hope that this was really helpful for you if you are considering starting your model rocketry journey in school, or perhaps have some questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us at educator@estesrockets.com. Happy launching.